Hey, it's me. Yeah, I bet I look familiar. I was part of the surf and turf that you shoved down your gullet last time you were at Joe's Crab Shack. My name is Leroy. Leroy the Lobster. Now, I want to take a second to assure you, this is going to be one of those PETA-type ads where I make you feel like trash ever having enjoyed one of my butter-slathered legs. Look, I get it. We're delicious. We eat each other all the time. Look it up. But look, I'm not here to just build a rapport with you guys based on how delicious my people taste. I have a favor to ask of you. The unfortunate reality is that the way that our delectable crustacean bodies are prepared is that we're dumped directly into a pot of boiling water. Youch! The dominating narrative around us invaluable invertebrates is that we can't feel anything. That is not the case. NPR reported in 2021 that based on a recent conglomeration of over 300 scientific studies, evidence points to the fact that we can live 2, even 3 minutes after our keisters are dumped into the bubbling concoction. I can testify to that fact, claw to God. Let's just say it was unpleasant. What really puts the barnacles on my carapace about the whole thing is that all of that unpleasantness could have been avoided if we had just taken a few extra steps. At this point, you may be asking yourself, Leroy, I don't really understand why you ever dropped in the boiling water in the first place. Why can't they just sell pre-packaged butchered lobster meat like they do pork chops or ribeyes? That is a fantastic question, and one that I had myself. Sentient media gives us some insight by explaining that, unlike those aforementioned meats, crustacean carcasses develop bacteria insanely fast. So you guys don't want to get sick. I understand. So to bypass that fact, you skip the carcass stage altogether and go straight from the live lobster to the bright red spectacle you see before you. Let me introduce you to my friends in Switzerland. About the Swiss is that CNN reported in 2018 on a new law that the Swiss government had successfully passed, which not only required improvements for the conditions that lobsters are transported in, but also outlawed the practice of boiling lobsters alive. Though this may initially seem as though our Scandinavian saviors are trying to outlaw eating lobster on the whole, that is not the case, so you can simmer down, lobster lovers. They simply require that we are stunned or killed before we take our plunge into the broth. The question then, of course, comes into play. What is the standard method for stunning or killing me or any of my crustacean cousins? I'm so glad that you asked. The UK-based company Mitchell & Cooper have a commercially available kitchen appliance called the Crustacean. Retailing it right under $4,200, the Crustacean is a box-like machine that's filled with salt water. We're placed in the water, the lid is closed, and an electric current passes through the water that kills us in less than 10 seconds. Pretty nifty, right? The best part is that lobsters that were killed using this method showed no signs of stress. We get an instantaneous death, and you get your lobster roll. Everybody wins. I'd like to circle back to a point that I mentioned a few moments ago, namely the price tag of the Crustacean. One thing that I want to make perfectly clear is that Leroy the Lobster is a class-conscious crustacean. I understand that it's not financially feasible for every mom-and-pop lobster shop dotting the coast of Maine to buy a multi-$1,000 crustacean killing machine. Thus, I'd like to present you with an economically friendly alternative, a knife. Crustacean Compassion, which is a UK-based animal welfare organization, elaborates on how best to use a knife to end us before we make our final swim. In order for a lobster to be fully dispatched before cooking, we have to be split clean in half. The reason for this is that we have these things called ganglia that run down our body lengthwise. Ganglia are collections of neurons, and they have to be destroyed fully in order to make sure that us little ocean pals don't feel nothing. Though it takes a little practice, this method of slaughter is not only humane and efficient, but cheap. Small businesses and home chefs can employ this practice relatively easily. So at the end of the day, all that I'm asking is for you guys to make a little effort. You know, one question that I receive pretty often is this. Leroy, you're a lobster. Why aren't you just advocating for the end of people eating lobster entirely? Well, I may not have a brain, but that doesn't mean that I'm stupid neither. The IMARC group reported that within the United States alone, as of 2022, the commercial lobster industry is worth $3.4 billion with a B dollars. Do you know how many livelihoods that is? To try and put an end to lobster consumption on the whole is not only impractical, but it would end up harming people. And Leroy may be cold-blooded, but I'm certainly not heartless.
I have one final request to make for those of you watching. The next time you're at a restaurant that serves seafood, ask your waiter if the restaurant practices the killing of lobster before boiling them. If so, fantastic. Plenty of high-end restaurants in the United States do. But if not, please consider starting a dialogue with the restaurant. You can even send them this video. You would be shocked at how many restaurants are willing to listen to their valuable customers. Remember, just because I don't have a backbone, it doesn't mean that you have to be spineless.